Hi, my name is Newell Davis with World Composting, and today I want to cover a subject that actually came up over the weekend in one of my live stream Q&As. It's the first one I've done. I'm going to be doing them in the future, probably, maybe the first Saturday of the month, but a question came up, and I've had this question on multiple videos as well, and that is, how do I store my castings once I've harvested? Now, this is something that a lot of people have done probably different ways. Some people use them right away. Some people maybe use them in teas, which you can make, or maybe just use them right in their garden by mixing them into the soil. I can't do that during the winter. During the summer, I actually can, and I will just sort of sprinkle them outside, or I'll soak them in a bucket and then spread them in my grass or near plants or trees. But during the winter, it's not a really good idea for me to just throw castings out and have them freeze as hard as a rock. So I do store them, and I actually have a container that I store them in. You can also store them in bags, so you can use like sandbags, I think, to store them. I've heard people doing that before. That's also what my worms were shipped in when I had them shipped to me one time. They were actually in I think a 2-gallon sandbag that sort of is like almost like a tarp mesh material, except it allows air to get through. And when you're storing castings, that air is really important to show the microbes that they can survive. You know, you need that air movement through the bag. And also you need that in case you have any worms that are left over, because they can survive and they can lay cocoons and they can continue to work through those castings or any leftover materials that maybe aren't quite fully composted. So let's go and show you how I actually store my castings and how much castings I currently have right now in storage, ready for this spring. All right, so here is my tote that I use. This is a 55-gallon Rubbermaid tote. It's one that actually I had stuff stored in and it broke, and then at that point I had stopped using it, and that's when I started using it for castings. Now, we're gonna get a zoomed in view of this, but first I just wanna show you, this is big. I mean, this is pretty big and it's pretty deep, so it's a fairly large container to store castings in. And the way I add my castings is, this is one of those mortar trays that you can buy at Home Depot or Lowe's, and this goes underneath my sorting machine. All my stuff gets sorted, and you can watch my sorting videos. I'll link it right up above here. But I sort all my castings, and then what happens is this tray gets dumped right into here. And that way this stuff is ready to go in my garden. Now there's a couple things that I might have added in the past that were not sorted. So there still is some of that unsorted material in here, but the majority of my material is now sorted before it gets added to here. That way there's no paper in it, there's no big pieces of food, there's nothing that's gonna get clogged up or do anything bad. So now let me show you a zoomed in view of this and how it really looks inside and what I'm looking to do as far as storing and the process I take. Okay, so I've got the lights cranked up here so you can see inside. Now, when I open this up, as I said before, this was a damaged bin. So let me get this off. It grabs on pretty well. Top, really dry. There's some spiders in here, as you can tell. They start to get in here to control bug population, which is fine. Now, if you look at this back wall here, though, you're going to see there's tons of worms. This happens because that's where the moisture is accumulating. So let me just show you here. And I have added these in the past to my bins, but now that they're sort of a mixed bag of worms, I don't typically do that. Now they're looking for moisture in here. It's kind of dry. Actually there's a couple bones. I'm gonna just take out this bone right here. This is from some other stuff that I add in here as well. Piece of plastic. I do have to sort through this again. As I said, there was some other stuff in here at one point, and I didn't sort through everything when I was first loading this up. But as you can see, there's just a lot of material in here. I mean, you can see that this is pretty deep. More bones. I've got a lot of bones in here. I've been trying to compost these bones. I was hoping they'd sort of work their way through in here, but that's not happening either. So, but as you can see, I've got a lot of material in here. This is a good 6 inches of material. It's really healthy and ready to go. Pretty sorted. Most of it's, kind of crumbly. Another piece of plastic in here. I've been trying to get rid of this plastic that I've somehow made its way into my bins, but don't always catch every piece. So this is how I store my castings though. They go in this container right here. Every once in a while I'll come in here, I'll mix it up. I might spray it down with a little bit of water, especially when I add castings to it. But essentially I just let them sort of continue to work through this material over and over again. And every once in a while I'll come in here and I'll just take out, if I find any pieces of plastic or anything, I'll take them out. But, that's what I let them do. So this is how I store my castings. It's a big container. There's vents right here along the sides where air can get out. They also have, I don't know if you can see right here, but there's a big crack out of it here. There's actually, there's no cracks on this side. This side had a lot of the cracks on it from putting too much stuff in the system, or in this, not in the system, in this container when I was trying to store camping gear in here. It sort of broke apart. But, you know, this is how I store it. It's very simple. It's very elegant for me. It's something that I can just store in my basement. Some bugs can maybe get in and out of here. Not a big deal, really. I haven't had any fruit fly issues in here. I don't typically find them in here. I don't know if that's because of the spiders that congregate in here or whatnot, but, you know, that's the other part of this. Now, there is one other thing that I do with this. Actually, here's a artichoke, or I'm sorry, avocado pit. Looks like it's not quite fully broken down, but the other thing that I do use this for is I use this as a soil factory. Now, I've mentioned Bokashi before, and what I will do is I will use Bokashi, and then I will dig that into this soil. So I'll move all of this to one side. This is part of the reason why I also have a whole bunch of bones in here, is I throw bones in my Bokashi. But I'll throw all this to one side, like this, and then I'll add Bokashi to one side. All these worms, they're going to migrate right into that Bokashi. There's no odor as long as it's buried in here, so I don't have that issue like I have in the past with adding it to my worm bins. But that's I actually have a video that I did with that recently that I have coming up that I'm going to show you guys. But as you can tell, this material all looks really well worked through, except for the bones and a couple of avocado pits, and shells. You know, these shells take a long time to break down, but other than that, this is almost all castings and then worms. And it's just, this is ready to be used in my garden. I mean, this stuff just looks great. You know, as I said, I might have to just get rid of these bones, maybe these peanut shells that take forever to break down. I was hoping that they would, but they really don't. And then some of these avocado shells, you know, but they kind of crumple apart and they'll slowly disintegrate in a garden or a yard. So overall, I mean, this stuff just looks phenomenal, works incredibly well. But I like storing it like this, that way I can just dump it in and just go. And then the worms in here will continue to work through this material. If I were to add something in here, all these worms would disappear into here and just start working at it. And it probably needs a little bit more moisture. It's starting to get a little bit too dry, which is why they're migrating out to one side. So I might have to spray it down every once in a while. You should try to keep you need that moisture to keep the microbes in here, which is what the worms eat, and also it's good for your plants. So I'm just grabbing out all the bones that I see right now. But, you know, this stuff, this is how I store it. This is a very simple solution. As I said, you can throw it in a bag. You know, a bag that has, you want ventilation, as I showed you right here. This has ventilation in this hole up front. There's actually quite a bit of ventilation in here, really. And this is a huge area. I don't want to fill this up to the top. I only want to go up to maybe this ridge right here. So I have another, you know, maybe 3 inches before it's that filled, you know, or too full, where there's not enough air movement inside. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have questions about the storage system or anything else, or if you have any thoughts on it, please let me know down in the comments. And you know, again, this was one of the questions that came up during my live Q&A session that I had this past weekend. I'm going to try to do them once a month, I think on the first Saturday of the month at around 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'll try to remind people of when it's coming up, but that's my goal, is to start doing a live Q&A as well and try to get some feedback from everybody on a live session instead of just having these recorded videos that I put out. So thank you for watching, and keep composting.